Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs.
Bows and TKOs. We are live, episode 142, coming at you from the Valley. I'm your host, Shane Gillette, for this weekly MMA podcast, streaming anywhere you listen to podcasts with your videos on YouTube. We have one hell of a show today. We have some PFL action, Gamebred, Bareknuckle. We'll talk a little bit about Raf and the Tyson Fury fight. Recapping UFC 327 and previewing this weekend's Winnipeg card. So we're just going to jump right in. Some fights that have been announced. Fun veteran fight here. We get Jim Miller and Jared Gordon at UFC 328. Jim Miller just keeps on cracking, man. We have UFC signing of Shang Jingnang taking on Angela Hill May 30th. We have Fares Ziam taking on Tom Nolan, two young talents, on June 6th, as well as Christian Rodriguez and Hyder Amil, June 20th. That's a fantastic fight. The UFC announced they will be offering a $1 million bonus at the White House in crypto. I assume that'll be Bitcoin. So awesome to see that they are up in the ante there. And everything seems to be going according to plan for the White House card this summer. Some other big-time news. NCAA champion Gable Steveson signing with the UFC, and they have announced that he will make his debut on the stacked International Fight Week card. Very intriguing that they're putting him on such a big spot. Although he is still raw, that's why they were hesitant to sign him. But under the tutelage of John Jones, I can't wait to see what Gable Steveson does. Between Josh Hokett, Gable Steveson, the heavyweight division has an influx of new blood and talent. And hopefully Tom Aspinall's soon-to-come return. But we had PFL Chicago. We had Alexander Romanov with a round 2 submission via guillotine choke over Rodrigo Nascimento. 2 ex-UFCers going at it. I figured Romanov would get the win there. Nascimento has not looked great the past few years, ever since he got destroyed with that big knee up the middle from Derek Lewis. Older veteran Jenna Bishop still getting dubs. Round 1 submission via rear naked choke over Barina Testaverde at 40 years old. Gabriel Braga continues his winning ways with a unanimous decision over Chaden Leola. Viviani Araujo with a unanimous decision over Shanna Young. Renat Kavalov moves to 12-0 with a unanimous decision over a very good fighter, Hofian Stotts. And then we had the shocking upset in the main event. Mitch McKee with a dominant unanimous decision over Sergio Pettis. I got that fight wrong. But the card, not very great. Shocker of a performance by Sergio Pettis. We'll see if this weekend or this week's PFL Belfast going down on Thursday, main card at 4 p.m. on ESPN2, could do any better. We get 9-0 Dara Kelly taking on JJ Wilson. Reese McKee taking on Alex Lahore. I think JJ is going to give Kelly his first defeat. I think Reese wins. We have Davlet Yagshamuradov taking on Tyson Pedro. Pedro's been inactive. It's going to be tough for him to win. And then Colin Logren taking on Alan Philpott. As I know that the UFC wants to go to Belfast, the PFL's breaking into markets before the UFC can. We'll see how the Irish fighters do. We also had Gamebred Bareknuckle this Saturday. I tuned in for some of it. I mean, this card was actually absolutely brutal. For a Bareknuckle card, there was a lot of grappling. But the highlight out of all guys, former UFCer Anthony Smith dominating in his victory in the main event. He got a round 1 submission over Chase Sherman. Chase Sherman has done fairly well outside of the UFC. A tough, scrappy guy fighting Bareknuckle, and Anthony Smith absolutely took it to him. I feel like Chase hardly landed anything the entire fight as long as it lasted. We had Thiago Santos round 1 TKO over Guto and Sente. Elias Santos split decision victory over former UFCer Landon Quinones. Tough go for him. Janoski Soho with unanimous decision over Charles Rosa. He dominated Charles. Ray Cooper III with a round 1 TKO over Glacio Elizario. Luis Pena, haven't heard of him in a while. Round 1 submission over Carlos Alexandre. So a lot of ex-UFC talent there, some big names, but the card itself wasn't very much fun for me to watch, and I'm usually a big fan of Bareknuckle. Tyson Fury also back in the ring this weekend. He had a unanimous decision over Arslanbek Makhmudov. Turkey tried to announce after the fight that it'll be Anthony Joshua and Fury. Obviously, Fury wants it to happen. Joshua wouldn't commit. They tried to get him to commit ringside. I'm sure AJ is wanting to negotiate or make some things on his terms. I pray that Turkey can make that fight happen. I mean, Tyson Fury's been up and down in retirement. Well noted what he goes through. I didn't know much about this Makhmudov guy. Looked like a big heavyweight. And he kind of sent it in the first round and then tired out. Was looking to clinch, kind of bully Tyson, and Tyson was just piecing him up at range. I actually thought, although Makhmudov's later 30s now, he probably would have been more suited for a UFC heavyweight. Could have added in the grappling. But dominant performance and return by Tyson Fury sets the stage for Tyson and AJ. And then this weekend we also have Wrath 8. We have the Machine, bantamweight goat Merab Dvalishvili taking on Henry Cejudo. I think Merab will probably dominate, but that'll be fun. Arman Sarukian taking on Uriah Faber. Not a big fan of this. I think Uriah gets dominated. We have Kyle Snyder taking on Rizabek Atmukan. Two well-known wrestlers, internationally champions. It's a huge matchup, probably the best matchup on the card. We have Zahid Valencia taking on Aiden Sinclair. And Jason Nolf taking on Joey Blaze. So, yeah, lots of different things happening around outside the UFC this upcoming and past week. But we did have UFC 327. I went 7-3-1 in my picks. Overall, 865 wins, 419 losses, 13 no contests or draws. On the year, 85 wins, 29 losses, 2 no contests or draws. Well above doubling up, so on a hot streak this year. I mean, to recap this card, it was insanity all around. The Padilla draw was brutal. I thought the prelims were pretty fantastic. There was a ton of finishes. And the main card, man, Cub got the red carpet treatment. Debatably the most chaotic heavyweight fight of all time. And Carlos Ngannou with a fucking blown out knee. The craziest shit you could see. Fantastic. The UFC is on a hot streak. Hopefully they can keep continuing that throughout the White House and International Fight Week. It'll be a record book year. Everyone wants to rip the UFC. They don't have good enough fights. Every weekend's not good. Well, they're on a heater, and what they've done already this year, no other company or promotion will ever live up to it. I am recapping this in 8 out of 10. If you didn't get to watch the Hokit fight or the card, I highly recommend going to Paramount Plus and checking it out. There were no good fights that we did not break down, so we will kick this off in the early prelims. We had Vicente Luque with a round 1 submission via Anaconda choke over Kelvin Gastelum. This was a fight I got wrong, but I definitely thought it was 50-50. And Kelvin came out hot. He was putting it on Vicente. At the start of the fight, he looked like the faster and more technical fighter as a striker. But after getting a takedown and wearing on Luque for some times, the fight went back to the feet, and Vicente caught Gastelum being overzealous and confident with a nasty uppercut that sat him down. And after he got sat down, Kelvin had to give his back trying to get back up, and Vicente made slight work of the situation with the choke being too easy. That's definitely his go-to move. Massive win for Vicente. Brutal loss for Kelvin. I don't know how much he's got left in the tank after that. And there wasn't a lot statistically. Kelvin landed 12 total strikes, 9 significant with a takedown, 1 minute and 16 seconds of control time. And Vicente landed 16 total strikes, 12 of them significant, a submission attempt, and a minute and 4 seconds of control time. So Vicente now ends that 2-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak, ends his 2-fight losing streak, starts a new winning streak. He's 2-3 since 2024. And Kelvin starts a new losing streak. He is 2-2 since 2024. So where do these vets go next? I do think both men are probably going to stick with the middleweight division. So I'm going to say let's book Kelvin and Marc-Andre Barriol. A little bit of power bar and Kelvin Gastelum. I mean, that's a win-win. Loser's probably on the doorstep of retirement. And then Vicente, definitely tricky, but I think him and Jun Young Park would be fantastic. That's the fight to make. Then we had Chris Padilla with a majority draw against Markel Medeiros. So Chris took this fight on short notice and he missed weight, but was definitely fresh once the fight started. He seemed to be fine. Tried to cut weight on short notice. We'll give him a pass there. He already, had to give up his purse. But to start the fight, he walked right at Markel. He stalked him down, just poured volume on him. It didn't seem like Medeiros really got comfortable fighting because he was fighting backwards, and he really didn't let much go. He did land a nice elbow at the end of round 1 that cut Chris open, but dominant round by Padilla. Padilla up 1-0. Round 2 was a dogfight, but Padilla walked through some of the strikes to keep marching forward at Markel. And Medeiros seemed like the more fresh and faster striker at this point, but he wasn't able to get set. When he was throwing off angles, was never really sitting down on them, and he didn't throw enough volume in my opinion. Round 3, Markel got a point deducted because he had a second eye poke that was pretty bad, and he grabbed the cage when Chris was attempting a takedown. So obviously he's going to lose this round. The big difference in this fight was the IQ and the willpower and determination that Chris fought with. Markel tries to get by from his athleticism, but it's just not enough at this level. That's what I expected. It was originally said to be a decision victory for Padilla, but it was misread again. A couple times it's happened this year. End up being a draw, but Chris is trying to get it overturned. I haven't seen anything, but I definitely think he won that fight. You give Markel round 2. He won round 1 with the point deduction, won round 3. Brutal for Chris Padilla. Not sure if they're going to run it back, if he's going to get it overturned, but I do not agree with the majority draw decision. There's always been some weird bad judging, points deducted. Things have been a little crazy of late. But the stats speak for Chris. I mean, Chris landed 165 total strikes, 148 of them significant. He had 1 takedown in 4 attempts, so not a ton of success, but he did have 2 minutes and 9 seconds of control time. Markel landed 98 total strikes, 94 of them significant. He was only 1-6 in his takedown attempts. So Chris extends his winning streak to 8. He's 5-0 in the UFC. And Markel ends his 8-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak. He's now 4-1 in the UFC. Well, Chris doesn't extend his winning streak. He's 5-0-1 in the UFC. And Markel keeps his winning streak as well, adds a draw to it. Forgot to change that. But what's next? Well, I think Chris deserves a full fight camp. I think we treat him like he got the win, give him some stiff competition. Him and veteran Dakar close. That would be fantastic. And for Markel, how about Kyle Nelson? That would be a fun scrap. Unless they run it back, but I don't think they will. Moving on to the prelims. We have Tatiana Suarez with a round 2 submission via guillotine choke over Lupi Godinez. And yeah, Lupi started this fight strong, landing some big power shots. And she ended up actually getting on top of Tatiana. But Lupi continued to play with the grappling, which we know Tatiana, that's her strong suit. And she probably should have just let Tatiana stand back up and continue striking. But Suarez then was able to reverse her, wrestle up, and finish on top for the last few minutes of the rounds while landing some decent ground and pound, which debatably gave her the round. Very close round 1. But round 2, Tatiana, right back to the wrestling well, was relentless with her takedown attempts, was able to get Lupi's back, and that was a rear naked choke, damn near put her to sleep. I mean, Tatiana squeezed her size, her power at this division. Again, why Lupi was willing to wrestle really shocks me. But this is the first woman to finish Lupi Godinez, so another nice asterisk on Tatiana's records here. Statistically, Tatiana landed 54 total strikes, 7 significant. She had 3 takedowns, a submission attempt, and 5 minutes and 12 seconds of control time. Now, Lupi landed 20 total strikes, 12 of them significant, and she had 2 takedowns of her own. But Lupi ends her 2-fight winning streak. She starts a new losing streak. She's 2-3 since 2024 and stays at number 6. And Tatiana extends her winning streak to 2. She is 4-1 since 2023 and stays at number 2 in the rankings. So what's next? I think you book Tatiana and Virna for a title eliminator fight. And for Lupi, how about a fight with Amanda Lemos? Moving on, the wrestlers prevail. We had Mateusz Gamrot with a round 2 submission via arm triangle over Esteban Ribovics. And round 1 was all Gamrot. Esteban, expectedly so, came out throwing heavy combos, but he was too far out. He wasn't really in range. And Mateusz landed some good shots, a nice high kick. But as Esteban tried to return a high kick, Gamrot caught it, had a beautiful single leg takedown, and controlled Ribovics for the entire round. Round 2, Mateusz had Esteban jumpy. Every time he was feinting, he was getting ready to sprawl and was mixing in takedown looks. But he caught Ribovics over swinging, got another takedown. You can't be over swinging as a striker if you're trying to keep it on his feet. But no surprise here. I really am kind of shocked about how many people pick Esteban in this fight, because I just didn't expect him to be able to hang in these situations, especially Gamrot coming off that dominant loss. He wants to right the ship. But Esteban, very active, went full boxer, trying to get back up. But Gamrot was all over him and got his back with about 2.5 minutes to go in the round. Gamrot then was able to get into side control and landed some nice ground and pound. And he just had Ribovics feel his weight the entire round. And then he got a head and arm to get the finish. Big win for Mateusz. Tough loss for Esteban, as he's going to have to fight his way back. Statistically, Mateusz landed 37 total strikes, 18 of them significant. He had 4 takedowns in 6 attempts. If he wanted it, he got it. He had a submission attempt and 6 minutes and 50 seconds of control time. Esteban only landed 16 total, 4 significant strikes. So Mateusz starts a new winning streak. He is 5-2 since 2023. He moves up 1 spot in the rankings to number 7. And Esteban starts a new losing streak. He moves to 3-2 since 2024. So what's next? Well, this division, there's not a lot of clarity right now. I think the best matchup for Gamrot would be BSD. And for Esteban, and I'm sure BSD is going to want to fight higher, but to me, that's the one that makes sense. And Mateusz is going to say yes to anybody. But for Esteban, how about Tofik Musayev? I think that would be fun. Or maybe Chris Padilla. But I like the Tofik Musayev 2 strikers going at it. Then we had Kevin Holland with a unanimous decision over Randy Brown. This fight started quickly. Kevin was throwing a large mix of kicks and combos. He was landing some good damage early. And Randy, when he threw, he fucking sat down on those shots and he hit Kevin hard. He had a big right in round 1 that rocked Holland, but Holland was able to eat it. Kevin's definitely showed his durability, and he just kept coming at Randy. He still was sloppy at times, but he was flowing. We haven't seen Kevin get in the flow state for a while. He was launching leg and body kicks when Randy would try to close distance. In round 2, Kevin struck himself into a position where Brown had slipped, and when he got on top of him, he got in a position to get a Darcer Anaconda choke, was super, super deep. He said he even heard Randy Brown gurgling on the Ariel Helwani show this week. Very much bravo, credit to Randy Brown. He was fighting for his life. He stayed in there. I still don't know how he survived. But round 3, Randy clearly in desperation mode, being down 2 rounds. Tried a couple of takedowns, which we don't see from him often. But Kevin kept throwing combos at him, and while he was throwing combos, Randy would try to sit on a power shot, but it never connected. But again, credit to Randy, showcasing his toughness. He kept going, but Kevin just overwhelmed Randy with that ninja volume. He says he's a ninja fighter. He was in the flow state. And the stats speak for that. Kevin landed 137 total strikes, 56 of them significant. He had 2 submission attempts, was 0 for 3 in takedowns, but had 4 minutes and 5 seconds of control time. Randy landed only 67 total, 46 of them significant. He was 0 for 4 in takedowns with 2 minutes and 43 seconds of control time. So Kevin ends his 2-fight losing streak, starts a new winning streak. He's 4-5 since 2024. And Randy extends his losing streak to 2. He is 3-3 since 2024. What's next? Well, I'm assuming it was going to be Daniel and Kevin Holland. From what I had seen on social media, Kevin Holland posted bell for Daniel Rodriguez. D-Rod was on the Ariel Helwani show. It doesn't seem, he never noted that. I don't know if he can. He's in prison for 8 months. I thought it would be kind of a man law thing, so that might not be true. I don't know. But it seemed like Daniel wanted to try to get a higher opponent. But I still say, hey, let's run it back. And for Randy, he could square up with Carlos Leal. That would be an absolute banger. Then in the prelim headliner, we had the Bellator Showdown. We had Aaron Pico with a unanimous decision over Patricio Pitbull. And we didn't get a boring fight. I was a little concerned this might be boring with not a lot of volume. But Aaron displayed great boxing skills, speed and power, the full package that we knew he was capable of. But Pitbull hung in there, man. He showcased his toughness, his durability, and the power he still has even though he's almost 40 years old. Round 1, Pico was doing well. He gave Pitbull a mixed look with takedowns and striking. Pitbull wasn't heavy with the volume of strikes like normal, but when he threw, he stuck Aaron and put him on wobbly legs a couple of times. But after a close back and forth in round 1, it was the Aaron Pico show. Round 2, Aaron just boxed Pitbull up, coming in and out of range. He would strike into beautiful takedown attempts. I mean, that one double leg he had, perfect timing. And Pitbull wouldn't stay down. He fought his way back up. He tried to land big shots back up on the feet. But he didn't have a chance to fire off enough offense because of the control and the pressure that Pico had. But Pitbull fighting at this level at his age is very impressive. He's been in a ton of wars. He has a lot of MMA miles on him. I really wish we could have seen him in the UFC like 10 years ago. I think he had title capabilities. But regardless, Pico is going to be right in the mix now. Massive win for Aaron Pico. Statistically, Patricio landed 49 total insignificant strikes. Aaron landed 104 total strikes, with 100 of them significant, 6 takedowns and 13 attempts, with 3 minutes and 24 seconds of control time. So he more than doubled Patricio's volume and had over 50% takedown success. Fantastic night in the octagon for Aaron Pico. And a lot of things have been said about Pico's chin. He did take some shots, as long as he gets confidence back, which he should after this fight, I think he'll be all right. But Aaron starts a new winning streak. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He enters the rankings at number 13. And Patricio starts a new losing streak. He's 1-2 in the UFC. He drops 2 spots to number 15. Now, a lot of people won't agree with me on this, but I think this is the perfect fight. Aaron Pico, Kevin Vallejos, book that shit. That's an absolute scrap. And for Pitbull, why not Brian Ortega? Book that one. As long as Brian Ortega is able to fight, who knows with Brian Ortega. Moving into the main card. What a performance. The retirement fight. Cub Swanson with a round 1 TKO over Nate Landwehr. And what a final ride for Cub Swanson. I figured he'd win, but I thought it would be a competitive fight. After that, such beautiful performance, it makes you wonder if he will retire, but it seems like he's all in. He's wanting to coach. But Cub was stunting on the Nate the Train, man. And Nate literally did nothing about it. His leg was being chopped out. He was getting rocked. He had no answer for Killer Cub. The train never got on the tracks. Killer Cub was out for blood. Enough said. Beautiful, dominant performance. Statistically, Cub landed 40 total strikes, 37 of them significant. He also had 2 knockdowns. And Nate landed 15 total and significant strikes. So Cub extends his winning streak to 2. He finishes his career with going 3-1 since 2023. And Nate extends his losing streak to 3. He's 2-4 since 2023. So let's take a quick look at Cub Swanson's career. I mean, since he come up from the WEC, he was a dude. I've always enjoyed watching Cub fight. After going to the WEC from King of the Cage, he went 2-0, lost to Jens Pulver via Anaconda choke. Then lost to Jose Aldo by a round 1 TKO flying knee. Got another win, lost to Chad Mendez. Made his UFC debut losing to Ricardo Llamas via arm triangle. Stacked together 2 wins. Then he defeated Charles Oliveira by round 1 knockout. Defeated Dustin Poirier, Dennis Silver, Jeremy Stevens. I mean, at that time, cream of the crop. A little bit early in 2012 and 2013 for Poirier and Oliveira, but massive wins. Then he lost to Frankie Edgar via neck crank, Max Holloway via guillotine choke. Stacked together 4 wins. Hit a 4-fight skid. Frankie Edgar again, Brian Ortega, Renato Moicano, Shane Burgos. That Shane Burgos fight was insanity, that split decision. Shane really hasn't done anything since. He was fighting for the PFL. He lost. Yeah, his last fight was 2023 against Clay Collard. Wonder if he's done. Beat Kron Gracie, beat Daniel Pineda, lost to Giga, beat Darren Elkins, lost to Jonathan Martinez, beat Hakeem Dawodu, lost to Andre Feely in a tight split decision. Now beat Billy Q and Nate Landwehr in beautiful fashion. I mean, fought the dudes, put it in. What a career. Salute to Cub Swanson. And for Nate, what's next? I'll give him a fight with Yadier Del Valle. Moving on. We had Dominic Reyes with a split decision victory over Johnny Walker. And this was definitely the snooze fest of the night. I mean, to be honest, nothing really happened here. Johnny won round 1 by a slight volume advantage, but neither guy landed very many strikes. Reyes landed like a 4-strike combo. Got Johnny rocked, but then he didn't follow up. Reyes was winning the 3rd and final round by slight volume advantage. So I guess you could give him, 2 rounds. Johnny round 1. They were so close, not much happened. I think Dominic just did a little bit more. But what the big surprising thing to me is with how much is at stake for these guys in their career and how wild the fights have been up to this moment, I can't believe it had come to this for them. Nobody wanted to take chances. This is a career-defining win. I just thought it was sad stuff. Under 50 strikes landed in 15 minutes between these two. No takedowns. I just question both of these guys' mentality, their fighting IQ. I know they don't want to take a loss because they're right in the mix in a shitty light heavyweight division. But man, I mean, Dominic only landed 34 total and significant strikes. Johnny landed 42 total and significant, was 0 for 1 in takedowns. Regardless, Dominic starts a new winning streak. He's 4-1 since 2024. He moves up 1 spot to number 9. And Johnny starts a new losing streak. He's 3-1 since 2023. Drops 1 spot to number 13. I don't know where these guys go. The light heavyweight division's a mess as well. I figured you could give Dom the winner of the Jan Blachowicz Bogdan Guskov fight, but Jan is pulled out of that due to injury. So maybe he could fill in for the Guskov if he's ready to go quickly, or if Guskov fights a lower ranked guy, maybe he fights the winner of that. But he's going to need to let the division shake out a bit. And Johnny, how about a rematch with Nikita Krylov coming off a win? I think that's the fight I'd make next. But then we had the fight of the night. Josh Hokett with a unanimous decision over Curtis Blades. Fight of the night and performance of the night. $200,000 bonus. Welcome to the big leagues. I mean, this shit was insanity in kind of the worst of ways. This was like a fight that would happen in Dan Hooker's backyard with his big fights back in Australia. Josh came out throwing everything he had, hands down, sloppy technique, and almost finished Curtis because he was just the much faster striker. But Curtis was able to regain himself, got some takedowns. Rounds 2 and 3 were definitely back and forth. But Josh had Curtis finished almost multiple times. At the tail end of round 1, Curtis was pouring it on Josh because he was so tired from emptying the tank. But by round 3, these guys hardly had anything left. Josh was on wobbly legs. He kind of acted like he was gassed out a couple times. I didn't know if that was the truth or if he was playing the part. But he did just enough to get the job done, winning rounds 1 and 3. But this fight was much closer than you'd think. This may have been the most insane heavyweight fight we've ever seen as well. When was the last time you've seen 2 heavyweights going at it for 15 minutes and just no recourse? Hands down, throw in, no movement, no head movement, no technique. I mean, it was fun to watch, but geez. I mean, these guys are at the top of the division now. But I don't think Curtis is a title contender anymore. I think he's too slow. He's too beat up. He's still, he was number 5. But regardless, massive win for Josh. He's looking to shock the world after playing the part and all the hate he's done. He is now there. I hope he doesn't win the title. I'll say that much. Statistically, Curtis landed 203 total strikes, 161 significant. He had 2 takes and takedowns in 7 attempts. So Josh did a good, I can't really say Josh did a good job of defending them. Curtis kind of had half-assed takedown attempts based out of fatigue, really. But Josh landed 144 total, 142 of them significant. He was 0 for 1 in takedowns. So Josh landing quite a few less, but when he landed, they were a lot more impactful, and the damage clearly worn on Curtis's face. So Curtis starts a new losing streak. He's 2 and 3 since 2023. He drops 1 spot to number 6. And Josh stays undefeated, extends that winning streak to 9. 4-0 in the UFC. He now is in the top 5 at number 5. And better yet, Dana White immediately announcing that Josh will be fighting Derek Lewis at the White House card. I mean, way to burst onto the scene. Good luck with Derek Lewis. I hope he ends him. And for Curtis, it seems like they've wanted him out of the top, giving him random opponents. So maybe he could have a fight with Tyrell Fortune, who's recently in the top rankings as well. Absolute insane scene. Utter insanity. Now Josh Hokit is fighting on the White House. Wow. Moving on, I try to tell y'all, Paulo Costa with a round 3 TKO over Azamat Murzakanov. Boy, did Paulo look good at light heavyweight. He was attacking Azamat in space with his big power kicks, and Azamat wasn't able to use his best advantage, which are those quick hands. Because round 1, Azamat was just playing defense because Paulo was on attack. And Azamat, because of that, wasn't able to close space. He wasn't able to get in range to let those bombs rip. Paulo was moving a lot, big body kicks, big head kicks, kept him at bay. Round 2, he did a good job attacking Paulo's lead leg, and he was able to get a takedown. He actually had a choke opportunity, but Paulo was able to get through the back door. Azamat takes the round for a winner takes all round 3. Well, round 3, Paulo was aggressive as Azamat threw some big shots, but he caught Murzakanov over swinging and sat him down and jumped on the finish. I mean, Azamat suffering his first pro loss. At his age, it's going to be a tough chance for him to fight at the top of the division again. And Paulo, with Olberg's injury, I mean, shit, he might have a chance to fight for the title depending on timelines, but he is in a very good opportunity in the light heavyweight division, as his former division is a lot more stacked. Statistically, Paulo landed 61 total strikes, 55 of them significant, with a knockdown, was 0 for 1 in takedowns with a minute and 20 seconds of control time. And Azamat landed 34 total and significant strikes. He He was 1 for 2 on takedowns with a submission attempt. So Paulo extends his winning streak to 2. He's 2-2 since 2024, 1-0 in the light heavyweight division. He enters the rankings at number 7. And Azamat ends his 16-fight winning streak. He suffers his first pro loss. He's 7-1 in the UFC, and he moves down 2 spots to number 8. I knew Paulo had the potential. I love the whole media week, him making fun of Azamat, talking about him being fast and can't having a secret juice. I think he got into his head a little bit. But Azamat is a true problem when he's in close with those quick hands and power, and Paulo didn't let him have a chance. It seems like Paulo's definitely still back and forth. I think he stays at light heavyweight. He says he's down to fight at both. He still wants Khamzat Chimaev. I would like to see him in a banger against Khalil Roundtree Jr., but again, depending on what happens with the Bogdan stuff, Carlos's injury, he may find himself in an interim title shot. And then for Azamat, how about Yuri Prohaska? We'll talk about that in a second. Then in the main event, it didn't last long. We had Carlos Ulberg with a round 1 knockout over Yuri Prohaska, performance of the night, 100 G's and new. I mean, this dude tore his knee, stepping back, blew his knee out. And after getting smoked with one leg, he caught Yuri with a combo, and then that beautiful power check left hook, got a finish with a blown knee. What a fucking story for Carlos Ulberg. Bravo. I mean, basically before that, Yuri was pressuring Carlos back against the octagon. Carlos was being calm, cool, collected, countering when he needed to push Yuri back. Yuri still hands down, bobbing and weaving. He saw his knee and knew he was compromised, and he was pointing down. After the fight, he said he was trying to give Carlos mercy, and he got caught. I don't believe that whatsoever. He pointed down. He wanted to finish Carlos and put a highlight finish on there and regain his title, and Carlos wasn't going down. And Carlos is lucky that it didn't make it to round 2, because if he did, they would have either medically called the fight or his corner would have put in the white flag. But he caught him. You know, all that talk that Yuri has, he wanted to go in and make a highlight, and he turned in the highlight. But what a power of will and determination by Carlos Ulberg. Imagine tearing your ACL, to throw that left or still putting pressure. He was still standing. He wasn't limping too badly. He made do with what he had. I mean, you got to clap it up for a performance like that. Fantastic. But the bummer is now he has torn his knee. It's been official. He's expected to be out for 9 months, and he's not getting any younger. Regardless, statistically, Yuri only landed 11 total and significant strikes. Carlos landed 21 total and significant with the knockdown. So Yuri now ends his 2-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak. He's 3-2 since 2024, and he moves down 1 spot to number 3. Carlos extends that winning streak to 10. He's 11-1 in the UFC and is now the current champion. And again, what's next? I mean, I don't really know who the next contender is. Everyone's coming off losses. Maybe you throw Robert Whittaker in there, who's rumored to move up. Maybe Magomed Ankalaev gets it. And for Yuri, again, I think he should fight Azamat Murzakanov. That's the fight that I would make. 2 strikers were in for a doozy. But how about the numbered event? UFC 327 putting on a show. Vicente Luque, big win. Padilla getting screwed. Tatiana Suarez and Mateusz Gamrot dominating. Kevin Holland back in the win column. Pico putting on a show. Cub fucking Swanson. The Boo Birds for Dominic Reyes. Josh Hokett, Curtis Blades. Absolute insanity. Box office stuff. Paulo Costa, brilliant performance. And Carlos Ulberg on 1 leg. Can the UFC keep it going? Well, we have UFC Fight Night Winnipeg. Prelims at 2 p.m. Pacific, main card 5 p.m. all on Paramount Plus. To preview this card, I mean, name-wise, for casual fans, even myself, it's a light card overall. There is a ton of Canadian talent. The main card does have some doozies, but nothing that really gets the blood flowing. But maybe it over-delivers a bunch of finishes. The UFC's on fire right now, but I'm previewing this a 4 out of 10. There's a lot of good fights we will not break down. The fights that I don't break down are fights that I don't need to see, that I'm not recommending you need to see. It might be a debuter that I don't know a lot about, or it's a very lopsided fight that is just like, what are we doing here? But we get John Castaneda taking on Contender Series alum Mark Vologden. If you remember his Contender Series fight, storming his opponent down, almost getting finished, almost finishing his opponent. 15 minutes of chaos. Be interesting to see how he does in his UFC debut. John Castaneda's in desperation mode. We have Mitch Raposo and Alan Nascimento. 14th ranked JJ Aldrich and Jamie Lynn Horth. Melissa Croden taking on Daria Zelzinakova. The UFC return of Tanner Boser at heavyweight taking on Gokhan Sarakom. Julian LeBlanc taking on Robert Valentin from Tough. Contender Series alum Marcio Barbosa taking on Dennis Bazukja. And Contender Series alum Mandel Nalo fighting Jai Herbert. I expect the Nalo Herbert fight, Boser Sarakom fight, Barbosa Dennis Bazukja fights to be good. And even the Contender Series, Mark Vologden and John Castaneda. So worth tuning into. But we're going to preview just some fights on the main card. We have Thiago Moises, 31 years old with a 19-9 record, taking on Gage G Money Young, 25 years old with a 10-3 record. Now this is kind of weird matchmaking. You know, Gage is new to the UFC, obviously trying to stack up some wins. He's taking on Thiago, who's in his prime at 31. He's trying to regain momentum and make a push in the lightweight division. But Thiago's very well-rounded and talented. He's just rushed himself in the past and put himself in bad spots, so this will be interesting. Breaking it down, Thiago trains out of American Top Team. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's an RFA, LFA, and Contender Series alum. He's on a one-fight losing streak and is 3-3 since 2023. 8 of his 19 wins are via submission. 3 of his 9 losses are via knockout. Now, Gage is a Contender Series alum. He's on a one-fight winning streak. He's 1-1 in the UFC. 6 of his 10 wins are via knockout. Now, Gage has fought to a decision against Maha Shete in August of last year, and he even lost a decision bout to Evan Elder. You know, I do think Thiago needs to be more patient and measured, but he can look to box Young and set up a spot to get him to the canvas and submit him with his wrestling. I don't see where Gage wins this fight unless Thiago goes 0-100 and gets caught in a slugfest or exhausts himself from takedowns. I think he's learned from his past. You know, he's in the middle of his prime. His time is now. This is important for him to get a win, and I think he finds a way. For that reason, I'm taking Thiago Moises. We are putting him on that parlay. We're marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Jasmine Jasdavicius, 37 years old with a 14-4 record and the number 7 next to her name, taking on Karine Killer Silva, 32 years old with a 19-6 record and the number 9 next to her name. Now there's a lot of stakes here. This is a big-time fight. You know, both women are trying to rebound from losses to the top contenders in the division, and both women are well-rounded, but live off their grappling, their toughness, making fights ugly. I think we're in for one hell of a fight here. You know, Jasmine is older at 37, but she's been fighting the best of the division of late. And Karine is still in her prime. She hasn't quite faced the level of competition that Jasmine has, so it should be fun. Breaking this down, Jasmine trains out of Niagara Top Team in Canada. She has a black belt in BJJ. 2 of her last 4 fights have been performance of the night. She's showing up. She's showing out. She's a Cage Warriors and Contender Series alum. She has the largest total strike differential in a women's bout, 326-26 against Priscilla Cajera. She's on a one-fight losing streak and is 5-1 since 2024. Now, Karine has an orthodox stance. She trains out of Fighting Nerds. She has a black belt in BJJ. She's a Fight Nights Global and Contender Series alum. She's tied with Montana De La Rosa for the third most submissions in women's flyweight history with 3. She's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 2-2 since 2024. 9 of her 19 wins are via knockout, 8 via submission, so 17 of her 19 wins via finish. Very impressive. Now, Mignon Firo absolutely dominated Jasmine, proving to me that she's not a true contender. But I do think she's fighting at a high enough level to lead this fight with her offensive grappling and striking and just kind of bully Karine. Silva's solid. She's going to battle. She has great jiu-jitsu. Maybe she could be dangerous from her back. But she definitely fights more reactively. And Jasmine is very offensive. For that reason, I'm taking Jasmine Jasdavicius. We are putting her on that parlay. We marking that ish down. And we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Kyler Matrix Phillips. 30 years old with a 12-4 record. Taking on Charles Air Jourdain. 30 years old with a 17-8-1 record. Now, Charles has moved down to the bantamweight division, but he's put together a couple nice wins via guillotine submissions. But now he gets to face a former top 15 fighter who's also in his prime, both 30 years old. And he's been fighting stiff competition. I think we're going to see the best version of him. Both of these men are very fun, creative strikers. They are very fast, so I think we're in for a fantastic fight. Definitely fight of the night potential. Breaking this down, Kyler trains out of the MMA lab here in Phoenix. He's an LFA and Contender Series alum. He's on a 2-fight losing streak and is 2-2 since 2023. 5 of his 12 wins are via knockout, and he has a 3-inch reach advantage. Now, Charles trains out of Brazilian top team Canada. He has a black belt in BJJ. His last 2 fights have been performance of the night. He's showing up. He's showing out. He's a TKO alum and former champion. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, both of them at bantamweight, 2-2 since 2024. 8 of his 17 wins are via knockout, 7 via submission, so 15 of his 17 wins via finish. Now, this fight's a coin flip. It's really hard to predict as both fighters are very unpredictable. Kyler has come out aggressive in some of his past fights early and has slowed down later in the fight. Charles is usually a guy who starts slow and he picks it up in round 2. So I think that's an interesting concept. But I think that Kyler is a pressure fighter here. He's going to strike himself into some takedown attempts. Charles has shown he's been susceptible to being taken down. He could be beat up after being taken down as well. So it's a big test for him. For the sake of picking, I'm taking Kyler Phillips, but I'm avoiding this on any parlay possible. In the main event, we have Gilbert Durinho Burns. 39 years old with a 22-9 record and the number 11 next to his name. Taking on Mike Proper Malat. 34 years old with a 13-2-1 record. Now, Mike is supposed to kind of be the captain of the Canadians, leading the Canadian charge, but he really still doesn't have a quality win after he got checked by Neil Magny. But he has regained confidence. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. Now, Gilbert is one of the best true MMA artists to do it, but he's almost 40, and he hasn't won since April of 2023. He's also fought only the best since 2020. It's really been Murderer's Row. Khamzat Chimaev, Kamaru Usman. But Gilbert only fought once last year, and Morales put it on him, so we aren't sure how he's going to look after a brutal knockout like that. But breaking it down, Gilbert has a BJJ style. He has an orthodox stance. He trains out of Kill Cliff FC. He has a 3rd-degree black belt in BJJ. He won bronze in the 2015 ADCC Championships, gold in the 2011 Worlds, and silver in 2009, and in 2013 he won in no-gi. He has the 3rd most armbar submission wins in UFC history with 3. He had the 2022 Fight of the Year against Khamzat Chimaev, a fight I thought he won. He's on a 4-fight losing streak and is 2-4 since 2023. 9 of his 22 wins are via submission, 6 via knockout, so 15 of his 22 wins via finish. And 4 of his 9 losses are via knockout. Now, Mike has a black belt in BJJ. He's a World Series of Fighting, Bellator, Cage Fury, and Contender Series alum. He's on a 3-fight winning streak. He's 5-1 since 2023. 5 of his 13 wins are via knockout, 6 via submission, so 11 of his 13 wins via finish, and both of his losses are via knockout. Now, Mike is a solid fighter. I thought he'd be better than he has been, and a lot of that has to do with him being too reactive and waiting for the fight to come to him. You're not going to be able to do that with Gilbert. This is a big opportunity for him if he comes at Gilbert with those big power kicks to the body and up high, and he looks to pick at Gilbert while having him up against the cage. You know, Gilbert has an amazing fighting IQ, a good coach. I could see him getting takedowns. He still has power in his hands, so I think he comes out aggressive, kind of in desperation mode, and I don't think he really has anything to lose. So at this point in time, I'm kind of weighing Mike's potential, but we know he's kind of underliving it. Gilbert's 40, he's coming off losses, coming off a knockout, but he's been there, he's done that. Unless Mike is just way too fast and Gilbert's completely washed, I think Gilbert gets takedowns, wins some rounds, wears on Mike, finds submission opportunities, and finds opportunities to land those big bombs that he throws as well. It's really a coin flip fight. The Vegas odds are high on Mike Malott, but I'm going to take the dog. The dog's coming to eat. Ho, ho! You can't doubt Durinho, man. This guy's been there, done that. I'm not putting him on a parlay. I'm excited for this fight. Either Mike will rise to the opportunity, potentially be in the top 10, or Gilbert holds his ground, or he's that much closer to retirement. A light card in Winnipeg this weekend, some fun fights on the main card, and then next week we go back to the Apex, another light card, but a good headliner with former bantamweight champ Aljamain Sterling taking on rising contender Youssef Zalal. Well, that's episode 142. I'm your host, Shane Gillette. See you next week.